Engineering physics is one of my interests within the field of physics. Coming from gravitational physics, I think is very related to a lot of things, including the application of Newtonian mechanics. And today I'll be talking about Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut. So as a Swede and a physics instructor, of course I'm not sponsored by Koenigsegg in any way. I would find it very interesting and exciting when Koenigsegg would try to break a world record in top speed, especially if it's done in Sweden, and the record will be held by a Swedish company. So let's see what physics can tell us about what's going to happen. And all the data that I'm using today come from Koenigsegg's website, like the mass of the car, and also the frontal area, drag coefficient, the maximum power output in horsepower, and then the gravity and air density and all that. But one thing though that I don't know very well about is the rolling resistance. So my claim is that studying this in the way that you let the friction between tires and the surface of the road or tarmac will actually be interesting in a way that you can predict what the outcome of the test would be on a particular day, because temperature probably plays a role. So let's start by looking at what happens when you drive a car. Everybody knows that there's a lot of air resistance the faster you drive, etc. And that's correct. Driving a car means that you have a force pulling your car in one direction, or that comes from, in this case, the Koenigsegg Jesko, the mid-engine supercar, hypercar, megacar. It has this engine right there, a V8 twin turbocharge, a very, very high output at a maximum of 1,600 horsepower. And then you're going to be met by the force of air resistance, atmospheric frictions, as it calls sometimes. And then the rolling resistance, or the friction between tires, the four tires, and the tarmac or the surface. Let's hope that we have a good control of everything. And you study that by looking at the power. And the power in physics is given by this equation. F ds, that's the work done, and divided by time, unit of time. But since we're interested in P max, namely when you have already a constant maximum output, that would lead to just what you get as a maximum velocity. That's the Vmax. And F here will be the sum of all the forces that act upon the car. Okay, so let's rewrite this. So P max will be written just as P, and F here will be the sum of the drag force and then the F mu, the friction rolling resistance that comes into play when you drive a car. And then V is as V. So what is Fd, the drag, which is generated by the motion through the air, is 1/2 rho CD A V square, and this one is mu times N, and this is interesting because, and time V, because N, which is the normal force perpendicular to the surface that the car sit. So basically you would have to also think about the downforce. Koenigsegg has provided 150 kilograms at a maximum downforce at high speeds. So we will have to modify N from being mg to being mg plus the downforce multiplied by v. So, and v, which was actually right there, multiplied in would be v cubed. So basically this is the equation we have to take care of. And that one would be 150 kilogram times g. So in a way, we have full control of the math right now. We just have to solve the equation. That's not simple because you have so many variables and it's a cubic equation. So let's try to do something. Namely that we know this as a fixed number, and also this. The thing that I personally am interested in is how V and mu vary with each other given this equation. So first of all, we try to rewrite this as a new variable to simplify it, like alpha. and this one will be v cube plus this thing will be beta, and I let the mu be mu and v. So we just try to solve this equation, and that will be alpha v cube plus mu beta v minus p, and I have to say that the p here would actually be the v horsepower, which according to physics you always have some losses due to different things, and I believe that Koenigsegg's newest technology would make them achieve 90% at the wheel. Basically the wheel horsepower would be 90% of, or more maybe, of the maximum output from the engine. And so trying to solve this, keeping this at a variable, you probably can get a graph, an interesting graph, which I will be showing you in a little bit. So we will have to do the math, and I will discuss more with you about this. So let's go and have a look at my Maple and some calculation and the graphs. Let me keep it short and concise. So I have solved the equation. I mean, the equation is very messy if you do solve the cubic equation using any computational program that you can find, and I use Maple evaluation version. Yeah, this is basically the solution. You can actually have the solution without any numerical numbers at all. It looks really painful in order to just read it, or worse if you try to write it by hand. But we have this computational program, and then you just have to put in the numerical numbers that you get, you know, like the air density, drag coefficient from Koenigsegg, frontal area, gravity in Sweden 9.82, or somewhere else should probably be lower, like 9.79 in Mexico or something. And then downforce, you know, mass including driver and fuel, and then wheel horsepower, which I believe Koenigsegg can achieve 90% or more. So let's just see what happens. So I put in the number, and then the equation will return something that looks like this, which is a function of mu, the frictional coefficient, and then let's just plot it. Yeah, now we have it, the theoretical prediction of Koenigsegg Jesko Absolut top speed. Without rolling resistance, it would reach almost 550 kilometers an hour, and if they want to beat the previous record of 540 something, it's good enough to have a rolling resistance of 0.2, but definitely you don't want to do that because this is a new better car. So hopefully 0.1 is where they can achieve when it comes to rolling resistance. I don't believe 0.0 is possible. So my prediction is that, and this is a theoretical prediction, not from an automobile engineer, just as a theoretical physicist, I believe that they will reach about 500 kilometers an hour, something like that. 0.1, unless something else here is modified that is left for Koenigsegg to do it, but this is what I would put my bet on, about 500 kilometers an hour top speed given all these conditions. And I hope you enjoyed this video and have learned something, and if you like the video, give me a thumb up, and subscribe if you want to keep updated with cool physics like this engineering physics video. Thank you and goodbye.